So I was invited by EA to check out an updated version of Battlefield 6 recently, alongside the two new maps Mirak Valley and Operation Firestorm. And while I've already shared some gameplay and impressions of the two maps with you, there are also quite a few changes and new features I've noticed in the game compared to the beta. And of course, I also want to share those with you. And we're gonna get right in with the Assault Ladder that we've already seen in the gameplay trailer but never played it because it wasn't available on the beta. And I gotta be honest, I had so much fun using it during this play session. You can simply place it to get to higher grounds, and depending on the angle you place it, it either transforms into an actual ladder that you need to climb up or a ramp that you can run up. And it also doesn't matter if you place it upward or downward, both is possible. So a very versatile and useful tool to open new ways to objectives, but also to counter the huge amount of destruction the game has. And it's a team play tool because not only the Assault can use it, but every other class as well. So you actually open ways for your whole team, which I think gives the Assault class a little bit more team play capabilities. Then there was also a new gadget for the Engineer class available, which is the Vehicle Supply Crate, and this can be placed at the map and then vehicles can stop by and quickly resupply or reduce the cooldowns on their weapons or upgrades. Not sure this will be played a lot though, but for breakthrough, for example, when you only have one tank that you need to keep running for as long as possible, I could imagine this gadget is useful. What the Engineer can not equip anymore though are two launchers at the same time, so the double launcher system we still had in the beta is not possible anymore, and instead you can only equip one rocket or missile launcher and in addition to it a mine, the EOD bot or the Vehicle Supply Crate. So basically the same system we have for Liz in 2042. Moving on to the Recon class, we finally got to play the Recon drone, which is also similar to 2042 in some ways, but then again different in others. So for example, the default vision is thermal vision now, and you need to toggle a button to switch to the normal view, but at least thermal vision is not bound to aiming down sights anymore, which is definitely an improvement. It also still has an EMP blast that can be used to destroy enemy gadgets like deploy beacons or motion sensors, but similar to Battlefield 2042, it cannot be used against vehicles. What's cool though is that you will kill players that are using a mortar with the EMP blast. However, the whole lock-on animation is not as intuitive as it is in 2042. Now you only have a very subtle red rectangle, but it's hard to see when the drone is locked on and if it will even work on this gadget. So there's still room for improvements here. And one massive change compared to 2042 is that the Recon drone now has a battery life. So you can only use it for about 1 minute, maybe a little bit more, before it runs out of battery. Then you need to replenish it at a supply crate. And this is also something you need to do for all gadgets now, because the automatic replenishing of gadgets we've still seen in the beta is not available anymore. Instead, every gadget needs to be filled up at a supply crate now. One good mechanic here though is that when you are near a supply crate and your gadgets start to fill up, but then the crate is removed, your replenish state will not be reset. So if there's only maybe 10% missing before you get a new rocket for your RPG, for example, then you will only have to fill up these 10% when you find the next crate, and you won't have to wait the whole replenish time again. And talking about the supply crate, another new feature is that the green circle around the crate was fully removed, and instead you will see a little icon at the bottom of your screen now that only pops up when you are within the area of effect of a supply crate. In general, they're using this space now to show information about active states, so a similar icon also shows up after activating your level 3 training ability, for example. And one more little addition to the supply crate, or actually the support class in general, because when you run out of ammo or you are getting low on ammunition, then support players around you will start to pulse on your minimap, which makes it so much easier to get ammo when you need it, and you won't have to run around and looking at the icons above a player's head to find out who is a support player. And I had already mentioned the mortars that you can destroy or at least deactivate with the recon drone, and these are also a new gadget for the support class. So you just place it and then you can aim with the minimap, but there is no follow camera like it was in Battlefield 1, where you could see if you hit something or where your shell was actually going. It also seems to be a lot less annoying compared to Battlefield 1 and is more of a gadget for suppression this time instead of farming kills. Going back to the recon class again, the automatic spotting feature that is part of the training path of the recon class was also changed. It now requires a much longer time to aim down sights and look at an enemy to activate the spotting, and manual spotting in general also got an overhaul. Because now when you look at an enemy and they get a red dot above the head, this is only visible to yourself, and when you spot them with Q for your team, then a bracket appears for a short amount of time, indicating that this enemy was now spotted for your team. And there also seems to be a cooldown on this manual spotting again, so you cannot just sit on the edge of the map and spam Q to spot everyone. What was also reduced is the scope glint for sniper rifles. This was a bit too much back in the beta, and we had all these memes with the mountain map and all of the scope glints of the sniper, but now it seems a lot more natural, but still bright enough to identify snipers. And the last new feature on the recon class is the laser designator that we were also finally able to play. And this is definitely an improvement compared to Battlefield 2042, because you can use it in a lot more ways now. First of all, you can use it like binoculars and just look through it to spot enemies or designate vehicles, but you can also simply place it at a location and then move away from it and remotely access it from behind cover, which I think makes it a lot more useful compared to 2042, because you don't need to be in line of sight to an enemy or to a tank anymore, at least not your soldier, but instead you can hide behind cover and operate it from distance. It also has a lot more zoom stages now, and similar to the recon drone, you can toggle it between thermal and normal vision. Moving on to the vehicles, there were also some nice additions here. First of all ground vehicles have a speed boost now that you can toggle, which is really helpful, especially on tanks, to get out of the thick of the battle when necessary. Then there is a below radar mechanic for all air vehicles. I'm not sure though if this was already in the beta, but during the preview session it was the first time that I actually noticed it. So it means that when you're flying below a certain altitude with your jet or heli, then other vehicles cannot lock onto you with their guided missiles. Infantry, however, can still lock onto you. So pretty much the same that it is in Battlefield 2042. And while we are on Mirak Valley right now, one thing I noticed, especially on this map, and this is actually the only map so far that has this, is levolution. Because in the middle of the map, between the two construction sites, there is a crane at the beginning of the match, but this one can be destroyed with several well-placed shots, and then it comes down. And when talking about destruction, another nice little addition I also noticed was a kill card for getting crushed by debris. This might not be a huge thing, but it's at least helpful to know what killed you if you're not getting shot by someone. And when you are getting revived after being killed, you can now also quickly thank the medic by pressing Q, because there is a new prompt that shows up for a short amount of time after a revive, and then you only need to toggle Q to say thanks instead of opening the Comoros and find the right option. And what I also noticed is that weapons now have blood splatters after a while, and also dirt, which has also not been in the beta, at least I didn't notice it. And the last 3 changes, but nonetheless important ones: first of all, tap fire was improved, so it's a lot more useful now on longer ranges, and there is a noticeable difference between full auto fire and tap fire. So especially for carbines or SMGs, I found that this really comes in handy. Then the M87A1 shotgun was noticeably nerfed and is nothing compared to the beta version anymore. It's still a good and effective weapon if you hit your shots, and you can also still have fun with the slug ammunition on range if you hit your shots, but it doesn't feel like the overpowered weapon it was during the beta anymore that allowed you to basically one-hit kill everything within a wide range around you. And lastly, we have the movement, which was also slightly adjusted. And here there were a lot of concerns within the community if the movement will feel clunky now or too slow, but I can assure you it still feels great. And it's not clunky and not slow at all. Yes, the jumping out of a slide is not as high and as fast anymore as it was in the beta, and the slide in general is a little bit shorter, and you also have a lower weapon accuracy when sliding and jumping now, but it all feels very natural and fits the overall pace of the game. So it sounded worse in the latest community update than it actually is. And I would say it is definitely an improvement compared to the beta. In addition to this, you now also run faster with the pistol or gadgets out, like the defib for example, compared to running with the primary weapon. In the beta it was only with knife out, but this was extended to all sidearms and also some of the gadgets. And one last point that I almost forgot, so I quickly squeeze it in here. When matchmaking into a lobby that is filled up with AI because there is not enough human players, you will get a notification about this now on top of the screen, so you won't have to check the scoreboard or only notice it while playing. But you instantly know when getting into a match, and you can then decide if you want to stay or not. And that was it for today. Everything I noticed so far that is different or improved from the beta to the preview version we just played. So overall, I'd say that the game is still on a very good track and that the devs are working hard on improving and polishing it for release. So tell me what you think about all of this in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. I'm the Catwoman and you are awesome.